So the $1,000,000 question is, why aren't your locks growing? I remember when I first started my locks journey, probably maybe about like a year or two in, a coworker asked, oh, did you cut your locks or did you cut your hair? And spoiler, I haven't cut my hair. I was actually trying to grow my locks. So I was a little disheartened by it. I mean, I know of course it didn't mean anything. They were just, making conversation. But yeah, I was like, why aren't my locks growing? I'm trying to grow my locks. So I'm just gonna get into a few reasons why your locks aren't growing, and you're gonna wanna listen to all of them because they're all very important and will help answer your questions and help you relax a little bit, or maybe put in a little bit of work. The first reason why your locks aren't growing is the natural hair growth process. So this isn't an issue, there isn't anything wrong, it's just a fact that everyone has, a different speed for which their hair will grow. And some of it is predetermined by genetics. The average person's hair will grow on average 4 to 6 inches per year. That means it could be a little bit more. It means it could also be a little bit less. It's just an average. Your average hair growth also depends on race. One study found as well that Africans grow on average 4 inches per year, Caucasians 5 inches per year, and Asians, their hair grows on average 6 inches per year. In locks by nature, they twist and fold on themselves as part of the natural locking process. So even if your hair grows on average 6 inches per year or more, you might only notice 2 to 3 inches of growth per year, just due to the natural locking process. And that point about the natural locking process brings us to point number 2. Point number 2 is your locks are shrinking. So your hair can be growing, but you might not notice it much just due to shrinkage. So this is something natural. A lot of loose naturals notices as well, is that your hair might be, shoulder length, but after you wash your hair, it's like close to your scalp. That's just, a function of your hair, and the shrinkage that your hair naturally has while loose also is a function of the shrinkage that you'll have too when your hair is locked. So the shrinkage isn't bad. The shrinkage is part of the locking process. It might even help it lock a bit faster too, as the strands of your hair will twist and lock upon themselves and form a more solid unit, which is what you want for a mature lock. This, however, results in shorter locks, or the appearance of shorter locks, and maybe even the appearance that your hair is breaking. Which brings us to our third point, your hair is breaking. Like myself, you may have noticed breakage as a loose hair natural. My hair is really prone to folding in on itself. It's prone to split ends, and it's prone to single strand knots. So, which is where you have one strand of hair, and that one strand somehow gets a knot on itself, which is from, when the hair folds on itself, it's more likely to form a knot. All of that leads to weaker hair that's more prone to breakage. And unfortunately, when you lock your hair, you also lock in prior issues as well. Not to say that those issues can't dissipate, but when you first lock it, those same issues as well. If you had weak hair at the ends, your locks will also be weak at the ends too. And those weaker ends are going to be more prone to breakage. So your hair will be growing, but you're not going to notice length retention, which is the key for having longer hair, is retaining that length. But you aren't going to see it if your hair is weak towards the end, because that part of your hair is going to be really prone to breakage, so you won't get that length retention. So that's why it took me a long time to notice any hair growth. When I first locked my hair, that first 1 to 2 years, I really wasn't noticing as much, or it seemed like it was also really slow. And that's just due to, I was experiencing a lot of breakage because the ends of my hair when I locked them were pretty weak. Luckily, as your locks grow and that breakage stops, you'll start to notice more hair retention. And 2, if you want to just make sure the ends are strong, you can just cut off your locks to the ends of your locks where you notice there's a lot of breakage. typically you'll see too when you have a lot of breakage is that the ends of your locks or the ends of your hair will be much thinner, just due to that's the part that has a lot of breakage. But like as you can see here, this is pretty consistent in the width. So this is like a pretty strong end of my locks. So like I'm not getting as much breakage, so I'm having much more length retention. Drum roll. The fourth and final reason is all on you, unfortunately. The other three are just a natural fact of life, but the final one is that you are breaking your locks. While breakage from damaged hair is inevitable, there is some breakage that you can prevent. Constant tugging of your locks and your hair is going to damage your hair. It's going to weaken it and make it more prone to breakage, which is going to make it seem like your hair isn't growing, and you're not going to get that length retention that you want. So like I said, yeah, that constant tugging of the locks weakens it. For example too, if you have knots, maybe what you want to do instead of pulling those knots out, what you want to do is cut them out. The benefit there is that when you cut the strand of hair, you retain the strength and integrity of the strand of hair. But when you pull it, you're lengthening the hair, which weakens it, and when it snaps, it's gonna, maybe it's gonna be more prone to split ends and breakage. So if you have pieces of hair that you want to disengage, your best bet is to actually cut them instead of pulling them apart. And you should have extra caution when dealing with the bottom of your locks. So the bottom of your locks is the oldest parts of your hair. And the older parts of your hair have more wear. They're older, it's weaker. So you want to be more gentle with the ends of your locks, because those are going to be the areas that are going to be more prone to breakage. If you have that hand and hair syndrome, you can't stop touching your locks. If you're touching the ends a lot, you're going to weaken the ends of your hair. You're going to break the ends of your locks, and you're not going to see that length retention. So, because you can very easily break off maybe a ½ inch of your locks. That can be 3-4 months of hair growth. When you're doing that all over your locks, all over your head, it's going to take a while for you to notice length retention. For some people who've been trying to grow long hair, it can definitely be frustrating not to see progress with your locks, but don't get up. It is absolutely possible to grow long, healthy locks. And I would say it's even more possible than with your hair being locked than as a loose natural. Like for me, like I said, I had a ton of breakage. My hair naturally folds in on itself, and it just doesn't lend to growing long, loose natural hair unless I wanted to keep it straight, which I didn't want to do. Just be patient. The key is really to just leave your locks to do what they do best, which is grow.